Well, hi folks, welcome back to BVE 2015. I am with none other than show legend, Steffan Hewitt from Polecam. How long has Polecam been running now?
17 years
17 years, right. So
over 600 systems out there now.
And
of
I
all
guess
different shapes and sizes.
And I guess the technology in camera heads has changed immensely in those 17 years, which is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about camera heads and the different options available for the Polecam. So, Steffan, what have you got in front of me?
Well, to pick up on the point you said, you know, when we first met and worked together, and you knew Polecam in the very early days.
Yep.
You know, we were standard, excuse me, standard definition, 4x3. We've made leaps and bounds, and you know, today, for me, it's really exciting. I mean, we've got the front cover of your magazine here.
Yep.
That was Kitzbühel, the World Cup downhill skiing. But we're shooting with a minicam. This is the Antelope Pico, but this is capable of shooting 350 frames a second.
Now, for any eagle-eyed watchers, this is obviously a dummy. There's actually nothing in this one. Just in case you think we've gone mad, there you can see it on that camera there. So yeah, 350 frames a second.
Yeah, with instant replay. So it's not a cheap camera. It's £35,000, but it's a live broadcast tool. But what it does, for those that don't understand, we never start recording. We're constantly recording, loop recording, and we stop recording.
So it's caching.
Constantly caching. 8 gigabytes of RAM on board, constantly caching. And if we're shooting at 350 frames a second, it means we've got nearly 13 seconds. It's a bit of a back to the future thing. We can always go back in time. But when we take that 13 seconds and replay it at normal speed, it's 2 minutes.
Wow.
So you've got to actually be really careful. You don't always want to shoot it as slow as you can, because sometimes the shots can just take too long.
And are there other, doesn't just do 350 frames a second. Does it do any frame rate you want?
It'll do any frame rate you want. The beauty is it also outputs a live signal as well as a slow-mo. So it is a Polecam live camera. They use it as an ordinary live, but if you happen to catch that amazing shot, for give you an example, we've been doing some pit stops with Formula One, with the Red Bull team. 2.5 second pit stop, 4 wheels changed and all that goes on. You just can't see it. When we slow it down, it's 30 seconds.
Wow.
So the commentators love it. The teams love it for analysis and all this sort of thing. I've also done, as I've built an underwater housing for this. So it goes on the underwater Polecam, the fish face, just on the World Swimming Championships. So we've got the guys doing the tumble turns in the corners, at the turn.
Wow.
And we're watching this in ultra slow motion.
Yeah.
We can actually see, are their fingers opening or closing to get better pull? We can actually see how, on the shark skin suits now, how the air flows off them. So it's a whole new thing. I mean, I love it. I wish I'd got into ultra motion years ago, because it's a whole different style of filming.
I imagine, you know, for a gallery director, you know, sometimes the slow motion specialist cameras are just that. They've got a specialist slow motion system on the stadium, wherever, just covering that, which is very expensive.
Yes.
So you've got a live head, but it's also caching at 350 frames a second. That's a great...
Very powerful.
I mean, I know £35,000 might seem like a lot for a small camera, but in a broadcast sense, it's kind of like it's doing two jobs, isn't it?
And that is including the OCP and the RCP. So this is, what I'm saying is, that's not just for this little head, it's the toys that go with it as well. So, you know, this is one element that we're seeing that's capable. I'm loving it because we did have to go to the bigger heads for a while, and we're now back into the smaller heads, which is really where Polecam came from. You know, on my stand up there, we have an 8-meter crane. It's just got 30 kilos on the back.
Yeah. And this is it. I mean, you know, we've got a Polecam here, actually. And the one that's on this cover, I mean, there was a change a few years ago, wasn't there, from that kind of a point where the only heads you could use were this size, to suddenly taking
the
C300s,
DSLRs, C300s, yeah. And, well, we had to adapt. The market changed.
Yeah.
You know, those became the cameras of choice. Cameramen are coming to us and going, we don't want to have to buy these mini cams here. I mean, this is the new Toshiba. This is a 4K.
I recognize the shape from the very early days, the 4x3.
Yeah.
So Toshiba are very much still in the game.
Very much so. This is a 4K mini cam. And
tell me about this lens.
This is a bit frightening. It's a bit frightening, but it's very needy and important. This is a 4mm C-mount prime lens. It's nearly £2,000.
Yeah, but again, you need the right optics on the head to resolve that 4K.
You've got a Bugatti Veyron here. There's no point putting forward focus wheels on the car.
And are you seeing, I mean, I know you still operate and you still do that as well, because you want to keep your hand in the game.
I have to. It's so important, because we develop the stuff in the workshops and we test it. There is no substitute for getting it out in the field and actually really seeing what it's like. And Kitzbühel for the World Cup was a classic. We're in extreme temperatures. I've got people going past me at 135 kilometers an hour. I need to know that the kit we're designing and building for our customers works in all those conditions. And what we're seeing is, guys, it's not, you know, you can go and buy cheap cranes out there. But guys are appreciating what goes into mine because they go, well, why have you done this? And I go, well, it's because so-and-so and so-and-so. And it's the attention to detail.
Well, you mentioned that one of the cameras you were using, there was a connector in the back, and because, I mean, tell me that story again. You said you were shooting, there was a power cable and something else. They were just too close, and so you fed that back to the manufacturer.
Well, I'm working very closely with Camera Core. This is their new Q3 mini zoom. So the beauty of this is not only a full HD camera, it's got a 20 times zoom lens built in here as well. Single cable connected into the back. But the CCU at the back, when you've connected in a data cable and a power cable, they're so close together you can't get to pull out the power cable because you can't physically. And I just said to the guys, the engineers, I was here with them, with you, and I just said, Jeff, just rotate it 90 degrees. And he went, brilliant, we'll do it. These things you cannot find out.
And that's what you discovered as you're out in the field. And you're then road testing your own gear and probably discovering things that maybe don't work so well. But you're in a position to then modify them.
Yeah. And you know, we come up with ideas and things, and they're the best ideas in the world.
Yeah. On
paper. You get them out in the field and you think, what a waste. We developed these things called pole doms. Guy came back from shooting Dian Fossey's gorillas up on the mountains in Rwanda, and he'd strapped branches and leaves to his pole because he wanted to camouflage it, not to upset the gorillas. So I went, let's get some camouflage ripstop nylon, make up these things and put them on. We did jungle, desert, urban, high-vis orange, chroma key green, chroma key blue, and white. Made all of these. Everyone said, what a brilliant idea. The pole dom, what a fantastic idea. You know how many we've sold? One.
Yeah.
And it's a white one. And it doesn't go up in the Arctic, and it doesn't go in medical. It's gone to a white marble church in America.
Yeah.
So sometimes, you know, a good idea just doesn't commercially make it. And sometimes you've got to try these things out. I've made a lot of those.
Well, I mean, you know, most entrepreneurs will say that the biggest thing you do is fail, and you fail fast and you recover quickly, and from that fail you learn stuff.
But so, you know what, I love that. That's what I love about this business. I love getting it wrong, and and then we sit down and you and I mean, it's frightening. You and I will sit and talk rubbish all over forever and a day. And you know, we're going from £35,000 here. We've been talking about it as well. GoPro. Yeah. Look at Apple, the iPhone 6 shoots 240 frames a second.
I know.
The photos are
and actually, for some people, depending on the output, the £35,000 camera and the GoPro will give a similar result. Of course, where this comes into its own is in a broadcast environment where it's working along with trucks and lots of other camera channels. Yeah. So let's talk about the fact that, you know, the Polecam saw a change a few years ago in that whole head design. Other folks can see that there. You went from that much smaller head taking just the mini cams, and then you expanded. Tell me about what drove this change.
It was the Canon 5D. That was the big change when our industry and the people in it and those shooting were acquiring on a stills camera, and they were coming up to us going, "We like the Polecam, but by the time we've bought this camera and it's getting very expensive. I want to put this on your head." Yeah. So we made a wider head. At that point, there was a real good opportunity to redesign the electronics and change the whole thing. So we kind of made a modular so that the bottom half can suit. We do a wide head, a long head, a fully submersible head, and what we call the narrow head for the mini cams. But the top part is modular, and it's identical for all of them. The improvement of the electronics, one of the things that people really like about our head is the pan and tilt performance. We're using what's called closed-loop electronics. We're telling the head how fast we want it to go. So that beautiful, when you're zoomed in tight, slow speed performance from left, anti-backlash gearboxes, change direction, come back the other way, no knocks, no bangs. That's what people appreciate. And there's constant, I mean, I can't talk too much about it, but there's a new head coming out next year, which will be fully gyro-stabilized like everybody else. But I haven't rushed into it because every man and his dog's doing out there. You know, the Movi is a wonderful system, but we all know you've really got to know what you're doing to set that thing up and balance it.
But this leads us nicely onto all of this amazing technology. I mean, cameras that are available now, which the FS7 from Sony, you know, £5,000. It's really a cinema camera, but you need to know how to expose correctly in S-Log3. And we were chatting about this just off air, how the Polecam is a great example of people thinking, well, I'll buy the Polecam, I'll become a crane operator. The gear, of course, is brilliant, but it needs to be handled in the right way. The DP or the cameraman needs to know where that lens wants to start from and end up to. And that takes time, it takes experience. Do you offer any sort of training?
We do training all the time. I was actually in Munich last week, medical customer, now has 3 Polecam systems purely for generating training content for surgeons. And it was another Steffan actually, and he held his hands up and said, I'm not really fully trained cameraman. You know, he was a joy to work with. He was like a sponge, and he just soaked it all up. But the one point he took away more than anything, I said, framing and composition. I said, your camera cannot do this for you.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are companies out there that say, oh, technology, you know, we can digitally do all of this. But framing and composition is, you know, are we talking across camera? Are we talking, just, you know, my wife laughs, but, you know, she will not take a photograph now anymore if she's chopped off feet or chopped off a head. Shoot a little bit wider. Just think about headroom. We talked about editing, you know, start, the move, and the finish. Yeah. So training is essential, and I do a lot of that. And the training is very much 2 parts. It's how to handle your Polecam and put it together, but it's how to actually frame and compose those shots, interact with other cameras. And I think it's quite sad actually today, and you know, the frustration that we do see people coming out of college and sort of going, you know, I'm 21 years old, I'm a producer. Yeah. You can't be. You need the experience.
The thing that's frustrating about that is that I don't want to discourage anyone who has a dream. But there is a degree of, you have to kind of spend time realizing what you don't know.
Yeah.
And watching other people, and it's hard these days. People don't necessarily have the opportunities to go out and shadow crew like I did and probably you did when we were growing up. But yes, it seems to be very easy today to call yourself something.
Yeah.
But
I have a young lad from Bedford School. He happened to sort of, basically knocked on the door and said, I'm 16-year-old, I want to learn how to, can you come and help me? And he's been sort of playing around with us for a year or so now. Every opportunity he's playing with kit, he's borrowing kit, I'm loaning him kit. And that's the way we learn. We grab hold of this stuff, you know. You don't just turn up on set and you know, somebody hands you a camera. You've got to do your research. First time I ever used the C300, I spent a day just playing with it beforehand.
Yeah, and I think what's very important, particularly for operating Polecam, is to get some training and then practice and practice and practice and practice those difficult moves.
And
the
don't
tight
be afraid
lenses.
to ask.
Yeah.
You know, you can sometimes waste days. I tell people, just pick up the phone and call. Because sometimes it's, you know, they've got so much on their plate, and I'll just throw that switch that way.
Yeah.
You know, we've got polarity reversal, so the tilt can go either way. Some people fly it like an Xbox, some people fly it like an aeroplane. It's just a push of a button, but if you haven't realized it's there, you can make your life impossible. Pick up the phone and ask, you know, it's about who you know, not what you know, and it is so important. And the guys that are doing well out there are the ones that do take the time and prepare their kit and are prepared to learn.
Well, Steffan, I could spend all day talking to you. You've got a booth at the show. Do you have the booth number?
We are C12. We're right at the main entrance. We're with Tiffin and Steadicam. We work together. It's a nice sort of symbiotic relationship. We've got 3 Polecams on there. We've got the big, what we call 7th Heaven, big 8-meter reach. We've got a real baby, which we use in operating theaters as well, which is equipped with the fish face, the underwater system. And then we've got the big wide, the big long head with a big Panasonic 255, I think, on there with full zoom capability.
Right.
So we've got the full spread, and then a bench laid up with all the cameras as well, so you can come and see all of those and have a play with them.
Great. Well, if you're at the show or coming to the show today, I do strongly suggest you go and check out Polecam. It's a fantastic tool. I started using Polecam well over 10 years ago in the old 4x3 cameras, and it really is a very simple system to get to grips with. And if you're creative and you've got an eye and you're really into cinematography, then it's really worth checking this out. And come and chat to Steffan. Thanks for watching.